Putting your opponent on an accurate range of hands is arguably the most valuable skill you can have as a poker player. In this video, Cash Game Pro Tim Jenkins will leverage the brand new Lucid GTO Cash Game Trainer, which is currently 50% off on Upswing Poker, to show you how to practice your ranging skills. You're definitely going to pick up some good tips along the way. Let's get into it.
Hey everyone, welcome to this Play and Explain. Today I'm going to show you one of the ways I like to use GTO trainers, and namely Lucid GTO, to improve my game. And today I want to show you how I like to use this tool to improve my skills at ranging. Essentially, the last few days I've been playing a bit and noticed I was getting quite lazy in ranging my opponents. So I like to do a drill where I essentially play hands really slowly against the trainer and really narrow down the ranges and check that range against the solver as I play. Essentially what I want to do here is every decision, think about how each node narrows down the opponent's range. So the first decision is pretty clear, they have a full range, we're not donking on this board, so we check. And we face a third pot. On this board texture, I think you can play a few different strategies. It's reasonable to polarize if you wanted, but the preferred strategy in solver is going to be a small bet targeting lots of kind of weak king highs, queen highs, and ace highs. Yeah, there's a decent amount of bluff equity for all the hands like Jack X and 10X from positions range. So I expect the third pot to be very high frequency. Maybe some checkbacks from queen 10, king 10. But for the most part, this will just be a range bet. And our king 9, I'm actually almost less interested in our decisions, but I'll still try to play well. The king 9, I think, will be mostly a call and probably an occasional raise. I think our raise frequency on this sort of board will be low with this big sizing, so I think it'll be the big size. And this hand will probably raise like 5 or 10%, I would guess. So I'm just going to call this time. And you see big size, but it's 20%. Right, so we check call flop, and after each decision I want to double check how the ranges look. So the way we do this is click the replayer in the top left corner and it'll update, and you can run through the hands by clicking these arrows. So yeah, here we see that the small size and big size are reasonable. I talked about the small size, and the idea of the small size is that it targets our ace and king highs, but you can also target some slightly stronger hands. So you can add this overbet sizing on the flop, and that's going to put hands exactly like mine in a really tough spot. So that's good for hands like overpairs, where you can force lots of money in immediately. And yeah, you supplement those overpairs with various bluffs. Now we're focusing on the third range, so it's just most hands in the range except some hands, like I said, queen 10, king 10. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Essentially every hand in the range gets an SM frequency. And yeah. If we want to take a closer look at our responses, you can actually load these sims and then we can look at every decision. So this opens up the viewer. So yeah, to show the response to the overbet will put hands exactly like king 9 in a tough spot immediately. So when you're picking sizings as the aggressor, you tend to like putting significant portions of the range in a tough spot. Here, the big blind defend has all these offsuit 9s, lots of 10x, so the overbets put those hands in a tough spot. If we look at the third bet, they put lots of our kind of one overcut type hands in a tough spot and make them fold out. So anyway, continuing this hand, we get the straight completer on the turn. This improves both ranges, but it neutralizes how strong the overpairs are. So it's actually a pretty good card for out of position here, so good for us. Not good enough to be leading though, I think, so there might be some leads in the solver, but I'm not going to be leading this turn. Yeah, we do see some leads, but not really. And we get the check back. Okay, so on the flop, we've narrowed the range slightly when they see bet small, mostly just taking out hands like ace 9, ace 8, and also take out some hands like pocket 9s, queen 10, king 10, but for the most part it's the full range. But when they check back turn, it narrows it a lot more. Which hands never check back turn? Straights don't trap here, they're too strong. I think sets will pretty much always barrel, and two pairs will start mixing. Queen Jack will probably continue barreling almost always, I think, as well as Jack 9. I think the top pairs with backup equity, they're a bit more vulnerable and they can still peel a check raise. So I expect those hands to barrel very often, whereas a hand like, say, King Jack, Ace Jack probably has to check back a bit more. while they're stronger with absolute hand strength, they don't perform as well facing check raise. And they're stronger too when they check back and get a brick, because they can raise versus most bets. So I think that's kind of how it works. The 10x that bet flop will be checking back now, as well as under pairs 8x. Yeah, so narrowing down the check range, because that's the line we went into. There's going to be a lot of 10x, some weaker jack x, some strong jack x, and a few 2 pairs. So the core of the range is 10x and 8x for the most part. Now, I want to double check that before we make a decision. So check back, cool. Get the 8 of diamonds turn. There's virtually no leads here. We see our hand specifically kind of likes it, but yeah, not really. And imposition likes a medium size. The medium size is pretty standard when it's a texture changing turn. You don't tend to overbet given the nut advantage is neutralized. And if we look at the checkback, we're kind of accurate. The core is the 10x, some jack x like king jack ace jack. We do see the queen jack and jack 9 barreling more, so I'm happy to see that. There's then the weaker jack x, which is there a lot, and the pocket pairs. So that's just the majority of the range. Now, facing this range, we need to think about how we want to play out of position on the bricky river. And I think jack x want to be a medium sizing. I think our good 10s want to be betting small, and our weaker 10s will want to be checking. That's how I think my overall strategy wants to look, and I think king 9 is going to have to bluff. And I think we will mix a medium size and small size. I think we can probably have some big size, some 2 pairs can overbet. So probably mixing all sizes with this hand. Solver might find some specific reasons to use certain bluffs and certain sizings, but I think the most often we'll bluff is this sizing. We roll a very passive number, so I'm going to bluff the smaller size. That's how I organize it. And we do see it gets used in all sizes, including the smaller size. So yeah, pretty happy to see it. The river was 6 of clubs, so I want to have a quick look at that. Check, check, turn. 6 of clubs. Yeah, we see all 3 sizings. I want to check my thresholds were right. 2 pairs can overbet, which I mentioned. It's worth noting that on this texture, you don't use your 2 pairs to protect the other sizings. And that's because they're not the effective nuts. So you tend to protect your smaller sizings and check ranges with kind of nutted hands that can always raise. And that's why we see, if you look here, the sets are checking very often to check raise. Now straights mixing all sizes to help protect the ranges. Going down on the ranges, we see top pairs betting the medium size, so I'm happy to see that. And second pairs, good second pairs are blocking. So yeah, I had this spot very accurate. And then the bluff thresholds I didn't really mention, but king highs clearly bluff, ace highs start mixing at him.
Want to improve your cash game skills fast? Head over to upswingpoker.com and get the new Lucid GTO Trainer for 50% off. Don't tank too long though, because that launch week sale expires this Monday, March 11th at midnight.